They whispered that girls were born to bend, not to soar, that our hands were made for serving, not for creating, that our voices should stay soft, and our dreams even softer. But something deep inside me refused to fold. Something that knew I wasn't put on this earth to make myself smaller so others could feel bigger. This isn't a story about the dreams they tried to bury. It's about the woman who grew from that buried seed, reaching toward light they never thought she deserved. And if you've ever felt invisible in a room full of people who should have seen you, if you've ever been told your worth was measured by how little space you took up, then this story is for you. Hit like it if it touches your heart. Subscribe if you believe in second chances, and share this with someone who needs to remember that the girl they overlooked might just become the woman they'll never forget. Because sometimes the most beautiful gardens grow in the places where others see only empty ground. You'll never make it without us, Elena. Girls like you don't survive on their own. That's what they said when I walked away at 18. But I'm the one sitting in a $500,000 cottage today, while they're the ones who lost everything. I'm 32 now, looking out at the lake through windows. I painted seafoam green, the color my father loved most. There's a canvas on my easel, still wet with morning light. A girl with paper wings, finally learning to soar. You know that moment when the people who crushed your dreams come crawling back, asking you to save theirs? When the family that called you worthless suddenly realizes you're their only hope? Let me tell you what I did when that moment came. My name is Elena Monroe, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the most beautiful revenge is simply living well while others destroy themselves. Girls have no wings, sweetheart. Don't waste your time dreaming. That's what my mother told me when I was 17, holding my art portfolio with trembling hands, begging for a chance at art school. But this story doesn't start there. It starts with the sound of my father's laughter echoing through our house, and how everything went silent when that laughter stopped. Dad was my safe harbor in a storm I didn't know was coming. While Mom measured my worth in how quietly I could fold laundry and how perfectly I could set the table, Dad saw something different when he looked at me. "Show me what you see, little artist," he'd whisper, pulling up a chair beside me at the kitchen table where I'd spread my drawings like secrets I was finally brave enough to share. He died on a Tuesday. Heart attack at 42. Gone before the paramedics could save him. I was 13, still believing that good people lived long lives and that fathers were forever. His last words to me were a promise I didn't know would become my salvation. "Keep drawing, Elena. The world needs your colors." After the funeral, Mom looked at me differently, like I was a reminder of something she'd lost and couldn't bear to see. The house that once felt warm with Dad's laughter became cold with her silence. Adam became her entire world. 3 years older, suddenly the man of the house, deserving of every opportunity and dollar Dad had saved for our futures. I became the ghost who lived in the corners. Adam was 3 years older and had always been Mom's favorite, but after Dad died, the favoritism became impossible to ignore. Every dollar Dad had saved, every plan he'd made for our futures, suddenly belonged to Adam alone. "He's the man of the house now," Mom would say, when I questioned why Adam got new guitar equipment, while my art supplies mysteriously disappeared. "He needs to be prepared to provide for a family someday." By the time Adam graduated high school, Mom had spent over $40,000 on his education, private music lessons, summer camps, a car, and eventually full tuition to State University, where he majored in business with a music minor. When I graduated 2 years later, I had exactly $237 saved from babysitting jobs. I was 17 when I finally found the courage to ask. I had spent months preparing, my portfolio spread across the kitchen table like an offering to a god who might not be listening. "Mom," I whispered, my voice small in the big kitchen where Dad used to encourage my art. "I want to go to art school." She looked at my drawings the way you look at junk mail. A quick glance before the inevitable dismissal. Girls have no wings, sweetheart. Don't waste your time dreaming. Her voice was tired, like she was explaining something obvious to a slow child. Your father left us enough for one college education. Adam needs it more. But Dad believed in my art. Your father believed in a lot of pretty fantasies. She gathered my drawings like they were trash to be cleared away. I live in the real world now, and in the real world, girls like you get married and have babies. This art nonsense will be forgotten the minute you have real responsibilities. I watched her stack my dreams into a neat pile, each piece representing hours of hope and work. At that moment, something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked, like ice that's still holding but won't for much longer. That night, I packed my art supplies in silence and got a job at Murphy's Diner. I was 18 when the ice finally shattered completely. I left home with one suitcase and a heart full of promises I'd made to Dad's memory. My first apartment was a storage room above Murphy's Diner. $75 a month for a space that smelled like grease and had no heat. But it was mine. The first winter nearly broke me. I'd wake up with frost on the inside of my window, dress in the dark, and serve coffee to people who looked through me like I was invisible. But something beautiful happened in that tiny, cold room. For the first time in my life, I could draw without hiding. I could leave my sketches on the table without someone throwing them away. I could fall asleep surrounded by my own colors instead of someone else's disappointments. I painted on napkins from the diner. On cardboard, I found behind stores. On canvas I could barely afford but bought anyway because hope cost something, and I was finally willing to pay. The rejections came like winter rain, cold and constant. Gallery after gallery, art show after art show. 43 rejection letters, in a shoebox under my bed, each one a small death of the dream I refused to let die completely. But I kept painting, because somewhere in my heart, Dad's voice was still whispering, "The world needs your colors." And then, on a gray November morning when I was 23, she appeared. Catherine had silver hair and kind eyes, and she looked at my paintings like they mattered. Like I mattered. "This one," she said, pointing to a seascape I'd painted from memory of the last trip Dad and I took together. "It feels like love and loss dancing together. That's not something you can teach." She bought that, painting for $100. More money than I'd seen in months. But more than that, she bought my first real hope that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't fooling myself. Catherine owned a small gallery downtown. She became my mentor, my champion, the mother I'd needed but never had. She taught me that art wasn't selfish. It was necessary. That my feelings, painted on canvas, could help other people feel less alone. Within 5 years, I had my own studio. Within 8, my paintings were selling for thousands. By 30, I was everything they said I'd never become. And through it all, I never called home. Never sent photos of my success or newspaper clippings of my reviews. They had chosen to believe I was worthless. I was simply honoring their choice. 15 years of silence. Then my phone rang on a Tuesday morning. I almost didn't answer the unknown number. "Elena, please don't hang up. It's Mom." Her voice was trembling, desperate in a way I'd never heard before. "I've been trying to reach you for days. I got your number from your gallery's website. I saw the articles about your success, the paintings in museums. I set down my brush and waited. I need your help. Adam wants to sell the house, your father's house, the one Dad built with his own hands, board by board. He says I can't afford the upkeep anymore, that it's just sitting there collecting dust." Her voice cracked. "But Elena, it's all I have left of your father. His workshop is still exactly as he left it. The garden he planted. The porch where he used to sit and watch the sunset." I could hear her crying now. This woman who had never shown vulnerability when I needed her comfort. "Adam won't listen to me. He says I'm being sentimental. that I need to face reality. Those were always his words, weren't they? The ones I used on you. Her voice became smaller. He's bringing real estate agents next week. He already has a buyer lined up, some developer who wants to tear it down and build condos. Why are you calling me? I asked quietly. Because you're the only one who might understand what this house means. Because Adam has never valued anything that couldn't be turned into profit. I made him that way, didn't I? Always telling him he was special, that the world owed him everything, that money was the only measure of success. It was the first time she'd ever admitted what we both knew. Please, she whispered. I know I failed you. I know I chose him over you every single time. But could you talk to him? You're his sister. Maybe he'll listen to you. What makes you think Adam would listen to me now? I asked. You spent 20 years teaching him that my opinions don't matter. The silence stretched between us like all those years of rejection. You're right, she finally said. I did teach him that. I taught him that girls don't matter as much as boys, that your dreams were less important than his. That you were disposable while he was essential. Her voice was barely a whisper. I destroyed my own daughter to build up my son. And now I need that daughter I threw away. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. I never called Adam. 2 weeks later, I drove past the old neighborhood. There was a sold sign on the front lawn and a demolition notice taped to the front door. Adam had moved Mom into a cramped studio apartment across town and invested every penny from the house sale into some cryptocurrency scheme that promised to triple his money in 6 months. Mom called me one more time after the sale, sobbing. He didn't even let me take Dad's tools from the workshop, said they were old junk, and left them for the demolition crew. 27 years of memories. Elena, gone in one afternoon because I raised a son who thinks everything has a price tag. I listened to her cry, thinking about 17-year-old me crying alone in my room after she'd dismissed my dreams as worthless doodles. I'm sorry, she whispered before hanging up. I'm so sorry for everything. She died 6 months later. Heart attack in that tiny apartment, surrounded by the few photos Adam had bothered to save from the demolition. At her funeral, Adam approached me with that same entitled smile from childhood. There's Dad's cottage, he said. It's split between us. I'll sell you my half cheap, $12,000. You probably want it for sentimental reasons. I almost told him then, about the handwritten will Mom had left, giving me the cottage completely, about how his half had never existed, about how I'd already spoken to Catherine's lawyer friend and arranged everything, but I didn't. Instead, I watched him sell his imaginary rights to a company that quietly transferred everything to me, watched him pocket $18,000 for something that was never his. Justice, I learned, tastes like silence. The cottage was exactly as I remembered, but smaller and more weathered. The dock Dad had built leaned slightly to one side, and the roof needed work. But it sat on pristine lakefront property with morning light that would be perfect for painting. I spent months renovating it carefully, keeping everything that connected it to Dad while making it comfortable for year-round living. I painted the shutters seafoam green, his favorite color. I restored his fishing equipment and displayed it on the walls. I kept Mom's quilts and even some of her books, but I also made it mine. I converted the screened porch into a studio with windows on 3 sides. I created a space that honored the past while embracing my future. Adam tried to visit once, about 2 months after I'd moved in. I watched through the window as he knocked on the door and called my name, his voice growing. Increasingly frustrated, he waited on the porch for over an hour. I continued painting and never answered the door. 6 months later, I received a call from Adam's wife, Sarah. Her voice was shaking as she explained that Adam had lost everything in another failed investment scheme this time involving cryptocurrency. He'd mortgaged their house, liquidated their savings, even borrowed against his children's college funds. When the investments collapsed, Adam owed nearly $300,000 to various creditors. Instead of facing the consequences, he'd taken what little cash remained and fled to Mexico, leaving Sarah and their 2 children to face foreclosure and bankruptcy. "The kids don't even know their father is gone," Sarah sobbed over the phone. "They think he's on a business trip. Elena, I know your family has issues, but these are your niece and nephew. They're going to lose their home, their school, everything. You're their only family now." I listened to her desperation, remembering my own 17-year-old desperation when I'd begged for help with art school. "Sarah," I said gently, "I understand. You're in a terrible situation. But when I was young and desperate, I was told that dreams don't pay bills, and that I needed to be realistic. I learned to survive without any help from this family. Your children will have to learn the same lesson. But Elena, they're just children. So was I said quietly. So was I. I ended the call and turned off my phone. That was 2 years ago. Today I'm sitting in my sun-filled studio, putting finishing touches on a painting that will be featured in a solo exhibition next month. My work now sells for more than most people make in a year, and I have collectors from around the world seeking my pieces. I wake up every morning to the sound of water lapping against the shore and birds singing in the trees Dad planted 30 years ago. My studio faces east, so I catch the most beautiful sunrise light for painting. The cottage is worth nearly $500,000 now, thanks to the renovations and the premium lakefront location. I employ 6 people between my gallery and studio, and I've established a scholarship fund for young artists whose families won't support their dreams. Last week, I received a letter forwarded through my gallery. The return address was Cancun, Mexico, and the handwriting was unmistakably Adam's. The letter was full of excuses and apologies. He was sorry for abandoning his family. Sorry for the way Mom had treated me. Sorry for taking advantage of the cottage situation. He claimed he'd learned from his mistakes and was trying to build a new life in Mexico. The final paragraph was predictable. "I know I have no right to ask, but if there's any way you could help Sarah and the kids, I would be forever grateful. They don't deserve to suffer for my mistakes." I read the letter twice, then placed it in the fireplace and watched it burn. Some people deserve second chances. Some people deserve forgiveness. But some people deserve exactly what they've earned through their own choices. Every morning now, I walk out onto the deck Dad built and watch the sunrise paint the lake in shades of gold and rose. I think about the journey from the broken 17-year-old who was told she had no wings to the woman who built an entire life from brushstrokes and determination. I think about Dad sometimes, and how proud he would be to see not just my success, but the fact that I never stopped drawing. I kept the promise I made to him in that moment when I thought my world was ending. On the mantel above Dad's stone fireplace, I've placed a small bronze plaque with words that have become my truth. "Girls have no wings," she said. So I built mine, from paper, grit, and silence. I learned that wings aren't something you're born with, and they're not something others can give you. Wings are something you build yourself. One choice at a time, one dream at a time, one brushstroke at a time. The world is full of people who will try to convince you that your dreams are too big, your goals too unrealistic, your worth too small. But I've learned that sometimes the most beautiful revenge isn't getting even. It's simply becoming everything they said you couldn't be. And every morning, as the lake reflects the sunrise through my studio windows, I pick up my brush and paint, another day of the life they said was impossible. "Girls have no wings," she said. But she was wrong about that too. If you're watching this and you've ever been told you're not good enough, not smart enough, not worth the investment, I want you to know something. The people who try to keep you, small aren't protecting you from failure. They're protecting themselves from your success. Your dreams aren't too big. Their vision is too small. You don't need anyone's permission to become who you're meant to be. You don't need their approval, their funding, or their belief. You just need your own stubborn refusal to let their limitations become your ceilings. I painted my way out of a family that saw me as disposable. You can build your way out of whatever cage they've put you in too. The wings you build yourself are the only ones that can never be clipped. Every morning, I wake up in the cottage my father would have loved, painting in light that feels like his approval. I think about the girl who was told she had no wings, and I smile. Because sometimes the most beautiful revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. So much better that the people who hurt you become footnotes in the story of your success. This story touched something in your heart. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you believe in second chances and the power of quiet strength. And share this with someone who needs to remember that they're worth more than the people who made them feel small. Because your story isn't over. Your wings are just getting started. This is Elena, reminding you that sometimes the girl they throw away becomes the woman they'll never forget. Keep drawing, keep dreaming, keep flying. The world needs your colors.